Okay. Uh-huh. Interesting. Do I have anything for cats? Oh! Don't worry about that. Good morning. And, well, what's going on in the world? Well, quite a lot, actually. Let's take a look. So, Trump is apparently winning his trade war with China and the rest of the world. Surprisingly enough. Although, to be fair, a win against China is a little early to count, but I think he's going to win. Most of the nations of the world have already called their representatives to the United States and basically said, hey, let's talk about this. So, let's see. The president did announce a 90-day pause on all reciprocal tariffs to pretty much every country but China. The stock market rallied, which is being called one of the largest rallies in the history in stock market history. Let's see. Daily Mail has a story here, and it is reporting that the Prime Minister of Canada, Mr. Carney, sorry if I'm butchering your name, dude, said that Canada will negotiate with the U.S., and Trump also signaled that he would negotiate with several other countries. So basically, everybody's willing to talk now. That's good. Let's see. I believe they report here. This is actually an important guy. Where is he? Where's Scott? He's not listed here. I don't have a picture of him. Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, basically said that this was the president's strategy the entire time, which is pretty much what most people who are being legitimately interested in this kind of knew. Trump doesn't actually want to do all these things just for the fun of it. He has a plan. And the plan was basically to get them all to the talking point and to go, hey, look, you can't make a product in, China or whatever country you're from, pay people next to nothing, effectively making them slaves, and then sell it here and have no way in the world that the United States manufacturing system can ever compete with that. You can't compete with slave labor. Not in America. Not for the last 100 and some odd years. 150 years. Been a while. So, with that being said, you have to put tariffs on these things to stop these things from coming in, or you simply not trade at all, which I don't think the president has the authority to stop trade it entirely without, congressional approval. So he would put a tariff on it. Effectively stops the trade because you have to pay a fortune to get stuff here. Tariff, for those that don't know, is a tax on imports. So basically, if you want, a car from Canada and there's a 25% tariff on it, you're going to pay 25% in taxes to the U.S. government to ship that thing across the border here. That's just how tariffs work. Now, China has put on reciprocal tariffs to our tariffs, basically doing the same thing. Whatever we ship to China, our own people are going to pay a tax on. I don't think that the tariffs that the Chinese are going to place on American products are going to be as effective as the tariffs that we place on their products. The Office of the United States Trade Representative showcases the deficit that we have. Almost $300 billion with China, meaning we ship very little to them compared to what they ship to us. They shipped us $582 billion worth of goods. That's a lot. That's more than most economies in the world, and a good chunk of China's economy. But we shipped $143 billion. That's what we waste in a year, on a good year. So, that's a lot of a difference here. The United States does not make cheap products. We generally don't. Most of the things you buy American, you kind of do get the idea of, oh, this is a quality product made by people who actually know what they're doing. So, is China's tariffs really going to affect this? I don't think so. I feel like sales to China aren't going to change. It may drop a little bit because of these tariffs, and honestly, I don't think these tariffs are going to last very long. Eventually, China and the United States will come to some type of deal, hopefully one that evens things out. That's Trump's goal. And if the America's ever going to fight this war and trade, this is the only time we have to do it. The U.S. dollar is not going as well in the world as it used to be. We're not, punching with our military as hard, which is probably a good thing. We're not out there, bullying people, literally. So the only way America can do this is to control the market. And since we're still the largest market, we have the option to sign these deals and get these things right. So if the United States' economy continues to not grow as fast as other nations, then we're only going to get less and less power as time goes on. And if we're ever going to try and even things out trade-wise, this is the only time to do it. And this may actually help the U.S. economy. I remember back when Bush and Obama were president, they were talking about this kind of thing and stopping the deficit with China, and they always talk. Nothing ever got done. As you can see, still a trade deficit. Yeah, and Trump was president, and he put tariffs on China for this kind of thing, and it still didn't work. It wasn't enough. I was watching Kevin O'Leary. He was on CNN the other night. I don't have the video. And he was reporting that he would like to see 400% tariffs on China. He's like, you just can't compete with them. They devalue their currency, which makes their exports super cheap to buy. It affects their money in general, where they can't, send their guys out and oh, well, we want to... Usually when your currency is very low in value, it's harder for you to travel outside the country. If you're a Chinese citizen, it's like, oh, your money's kind of worthless. But if you're buying from them, well, wait a minute now. That helps. So, yeah. Now, let's see. I did have some numbers on China here from Daily Mail as well. I like Daily Mail. If it's good enough for Tim Pool, it's good enough for me. At least he seems to use it a lot. Let's see here. See, they did transition. See, this is what I don't like about Daily Mail. They don't really have all this correct. The communist nation has spent years fostering a strategy that transitioned from building housing to $1.9 trillion constructing factories to make cheap goods for export. What do you mean about that? Where did you get that? You don't cite your source. And two, that's not what China's been really doing. China has, up until recently, yes, been building a lot of housing. And I don't really see them building a lot of factories at the moment. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't see that. The Chinese have been building factories for decades. It's nothing new. They've been the manufacturing powerhouse of the world for a long time now. This is not a new thing. Building housing, that's a new thing. And their housing market is pretty much in the same spot America's was in 2008. I'm surprised they haven't faltered. I guess the only reason they haven't is because they're a communist nation and they can force everything to happen. Eventually this is going to catch up with them, though. Communism doesn't work, people. All right, Trump announced a 125% tariff on China, and China slapped a revenge tariff of 84%. Now, why would you... Okay, if you're fighting this kind of war, why would you just not match the tariff? Why wouldn't you just say, we'll just do exactly what he does? Why do less? It makes you look weak by not matching the number. Is there something America makes that you need? The Chinese are a really terrible place to sell your product to. They do not respect copyright, intellectual property, patents. I mean, you can buy a lot of things made in China that are clearly made in the same factory as the thing you're making. I believe I've seen Nerf guns from China that are just Nerf guns. And some of them even have the logo on it, but they're not actually made by Nerf. What do they do? Raid the factory and just go, let's take all these things and sell them. They're everywhere like that. There's a lot of products out there like that. If you want to keep control of your patent and your IP, don't send it to China for manufacturing. Never. They claim to have copyright laws and all these things. They don't. At least none that are enforced. Oh, it's the law, but we never actually do anything with it. Then what's the point? Let's see. Here we go. Daily Mail reports that Beijing will likely impose further export controls on products needed by American companies to make chips and other products, slapping them down. China's base thing of making chips and things like that, those are probably the thing that's going to hurt. That's the one thing that you can't just buy anywhere else. You think, oh, well, the car's made in America. Well, it's not really all made in America. A lot of the small parts come from China and other nations that are shipped here and then put together. In fact, a lot of, if you read the manufacturing labels on a lot of products, it'll say, made in America. But really, it's actually saying, assembled in America. Yeah, I bought a puzzle from China, and then I put it together here. It's assembled in America. Well, it's not actually made here. And that's basically what they're doing. But I think the Chinese tariffs aren't going to work as far as anything. We just don't sell enough to them for it to hurt us. 145 billion is a drop in the bucket to the American economy, but 500 billion is pretty big. The Chinese economy, I believe, is Chinese economy size. Let me take a look. I believe they're 15 trillion. Oh, 18 trillion. Okay, so it's still a lot, but America's 29 trillion. We're almost double. So that would be, let's see, 500 billion over 18 trillion. Hold on, I do them 18 billion. Yeah, there we go. No, I think I have that wrong. I did. Hold on. 500 million, 500 billion, divided by 18. 1, 2, 3, 18,000. 18 million, 18 billion, 1, 2, 3, 18 trillion. Yeah, about 2.5%, about 3% rounding up. A 3% dip in your economic, output is a recession. So it would hurt the Chinese economy. Would it devastate them? Probably not. But it is a lot. But I wonder what the Chinese total exports are. Chinese total exports. So 3.4 trillion. So hold on. Everybody loves math in the morning, so we're going to do some math in the morning. 3.4 million. 1, 2, 3. So about 15% of their market. Really? I always thought we had more than that. I'm surprised it's only 15%. That's actually, yeah. Wow. You learn something new every day. I thought they had less. Or had more of a, I thought we had more of a direct relationship and we were counted for more. That may hurt things. That may hurt things for the Chinese, but not enough. I don't think cutting out trade with the United States or raising these things is going to be the death knell of China. It's going to hurt, but I think the Chinese would, if we avoided each other and never traded at all, I think both the nations would be fine. It'd hurt more for China because they have a larger percentage of their trade dependent on America. America would hurt less, but I think now's the only time Trump can really do this thing. He's president for the next 3-4 years. He's got he can't run again, so the election he doesn't have to worry about getting reelected, which is why he's doing all these things. People can hate him, but if he's right and he fixes everything, they can blame him, but everything's right. And I think that's Trump's main thing. I think that's what he's thinking here. I don't think, excuse me, that Trump is looking at things going, well, I got to get reelected. I got to get my party reelected. I don't think he cares. I think he thinks this is the right thing to do, and people are going to hate me for it, but it's going to work. And I think it's going to work. I used to bet against Trump. I used to think, oh, man, this guy's crazy. I didn't like him. I didn't like him up until like 2019, 2020. I thought he was kind of a jerk. And still kind of is a jerk, I think, but he's a jerk that's right. So I'd rather have a guy who knows what he's doing than a guy who doesn't. And the guy literally wrote the book on how to make a deal. The Art of the Deal. He literally wrote the book on it. And it surprises me that everyone is acting like they have no idea what's going on. Like, oh man, Trump's crazy. And that's what he does. He puts something really crazy out there and says, I want this. I want to buy the ice cream shop. When in reality, he wants a free sample. That's it. That's how Trump makes deals. And nobody really seems to care about that. That's what Trump does. It boggles my mind that people think that he's up to anything different than that. Oh, he wants Greenland. What he really wants is probably to expand the American military presence in northern Greenland, where we already have a base. That's what he actually wants. Why is he calling Canada the 51st state? Well, to be fair, they kind of are. Let's be honest. Canada wouldn't exist without America. I wouldn't want Canada to be the 51st state. I mean, we'll take Alberta, Calgary, those areas over there, but, Manitoba, Saskatchewan. Sorry for butchering the pronunciation. I'd have to take British Columbia, mainly because it's on the west coast to connect with Canada a little bit. Yukon Territory. But Quebec and Ontario, yeah, they can stay. You guys stay Canada. The rest of the country will take. But those crazy places, they can stay. Which is pretty much where everyone in Canada lives anyway. But, the normal people are out in the Midwest of Canada. Pretty much, well, that's where the normal people in America are too. Anyway, what do you guys think? Is Trump crazy? Is he right? Do you think it's going to work? I sure do. Have a blessed day.